The following program was provided by a valued member of our local community. Rogers TV is proud to support local producers and share local voices, ideas, and opinions. For more information, please visit our website.
Want to learn how to make a yummy vegetable lasagna? Not your average vegetable lasagna, but one with a lot of kick, layers, dimensions. Join me as we go to Indian River Acres Farm in Indian River, Ontario, and meet Janet, Kevin, Liam, and Lucas, and make this. Welcome to our series, Farm to Fork. I'm Chef Connie Powers, and you're watching Rogers TV. Today, I am taking you to Indian River Acres in Indian River, Ontario. There, we're going to meet farmers Janet, Kevin, and their two sons, Lucas and Liam, and Janet's parents all have a role on the farm. We were there just when garlic was being harvested. They went into the barn, they were braiding it, they showed us how they braid it. But what really struck me was the two sons, Liam and Lucas, operate their own flower farm. And they were busy working in the flowers because they were just starting to produce. And they were working with their grandmother. They explained that it teaches them life skills, it teaches them budget, it teaches them so much. But the main thing I noticed on this farm is that intergenerational cooperation. Everybody had a role. When I asked them, what would you like me to make? So many farmers say lasagna. This family was a little different. They said vegetable lasagna. That's what we're going to do today, so let's get started. Vegetable lasagna is, like any lasagna, it's a lot of prep before, and this one in particular has layers. Your average lasagna, vegetable lasagna, is going to have a white roux type of cheese sauce, and that's what's going to flavor it. This one has a couple different workhorses in it. So we're going to be using a tomato sauce as well as a ricotta sauce. This is actually the workhorse. Now, because of the limitation of time, I had to do some prep before the camera started to roll. So I have got a passata, some sauteed onions, a little bit of garlic, some Italian seasoning. It's all in the menu. It's all in the recipe at the end. You'll see. Make this ahead, and you've got it to cool. Now, if you noticed, I made it quite soupy. I didn't want to use a straight tomato sauce, and that's because I'm using oven-ready noodles that are uncooked. I want this to be a little bit more water-based so that the noodles have ample liquid to cook. That's one layer. So there are going to be, including the noodles, 7 layers. Before we started to record today, I roasted some vegetables. So in here, I've got red bell pepper, I've got mushrooms, eggplant, onions, garlic, a little bit of salt and pepper, and some olive oil. I roasted that. You could do anything. Your family doesn't like eggplant, you can put maybe in some squash, you could put asparagus. Anything that roasts up into a roasted vegetable layer. We've also have some fresh spinach. You can also use a frozen spinach. It's not bad because it has a water content that once again is good for the oven-ready noodles. I'm going to use a fresh spinach. And I've got a little bit of shredded carrot. I know that every family has likes, everybody has some picky eaters in the family. You do you. I've also got 4 cups of shredded mozzarella. That is going to be another layer. One layer I waited for to make with you is the ricotta. So what I have, I'm just going to move my noodles over here. What I have is all the ingredients to make the ricotta filling. So I have this is 1 kilo. I've used some for another recipe, so approximately 1 kilo of ricotta. I've got some fresh basil that we're going to chop, some shredded Parmesan, and 2 eggs. Let's make the ricotta filling. So you want to really make this smooth. I'm going to use a Dutch whisk. You can use an immersion blender if that suits you too. So you're going to add in all of this ricotta. Now, so if you've made vegetable lasagna, you may have made a sauce that has a roux. This is not that type. I find that those are a little pasty, and they thicken as they cool. So I'm just going to do this. So I just splashed myself. So let's stir up this to make sure it's all blended. We're going to add in the eggs. It's a good idea to mix your eggs before you put them in so that it can really coat everything well. Okay, so 2 well-beaten eggs is added to the ricotta. Now, the next step is going to be the basil. If you've only got dried basil, it works as well. I just picked this because it's always good to keep your plant being used, or it won't produce, or it'll go to seed. I'm just going to chop that up. That's a nice fragrant smell when it's fresh. So that's about half a cup. Obviously, if you're using dried, you would use a little less. And a half cup of shredded Parmesan. And some salt, pepper, and a little garlic powder. Now, I'm going to show you something that I keep in my pantry all the time. This is equal parts pepper, black pepper, kosher salt, and garlic powder, not garlic salt. And I use this to season everything. It's all mixed in. Okay. You can smell the garlic powder. All right, we're going to mix this. I'll just get it off the edges and then I'll whisk it. We want it smooth. We want to make sure that the eggs are really incorporated into the ricotta. That looks great. All right, we now have all of our components, all of our layers ready to go. I'm going to set this all up. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. And we're back. I'm Chef Connie Powers. You're watching Farm to Fork on Rogers TV. Today we're taking you to Indian River Acres in Indian River, Ontario, where we're meeting Janet, Kevin, their sons Liam and Lucas, and Janet's parents, who all operate the farm. This was a farm where the family really gave you that feeling that they're all in. And it's not just a thing they were doing while we were there. In 2022, they were voted the Family of the Year by the Peterborough County Farm Association. So this family lives it, and it was evident. Today we're making a vegetable lasagna. It has a few different components than your average vegetable lasagna. There is some flavor here. So you had to prep a little bit before you got to this point of assembly. If you noticed, I've got my lasagna pan on a baking sheet. I do that because, I don't know about you, but I don't like to clean ovens. So if there's any spillage, it goes on the cooking sheet and not on the bottom of my oven. So we're going to be starting off with a layer of tomato sauce. This is a kind of a liquid tomato sauce so that there's some liquid for the noodles, the oven-ready noodles to cook. Then we're going to be doing a little bit of the noodles. I'm reading the steps because I don't want to skip one. Then the roasted vegetables. Then this ricotta filling that we made just before the break. And then some spinach, a little bit of carrot, mozzarella, and we repeat it. So follow along with these steps. They're not that hard. So let's do it again. Tomato, noodles, roasted veggies, ricotta, spinach and carrots, mozzarella, and you start again. So let's do it. First, we're going to put in a little bit of our pre-made tomato sauce. Oh, some red pepper flakes. That's important because I'm making a ricotta layer, because I'm using that. The pepper flakes just make it bite a bit. All right, we've got a little tomato in there. We're going to lay some noodles in here. The next step is, I'm going down my list, is the roasted veggies. So these roasted veggies are mushrooms, bell pepper, eggplant, garlic. I added a little onion, you don't have to. A little trick when you're roasting vegetables in your oven, cover it with a parchment on top. It's loose so it can still steam okay and you don't get the splatter in your oven. So let's put a layer of the ricotta filling. A little trick to doing this is make dollops. And then you can use a spatula to spread it. If you try to spread it with the spoon that you're putting it in, you might not get an even coat. And you want it to be even. All right, I'm going to try to spread it evenly. You can see that way every bite will have some. All right, now I'm going to put a little bit of the spinach. You could steam it if you wanted it to be a little more flat, pliable to put in. There's no need. I washed it and it will cook down. It gives nice color, it gives nice nutrition, it gives good flavor. And this is just my own addition. I like the color. I add some shredded carrot. Okay, and then we're going to be putting the mozzarella. This is about 4 cups that I've shredded. It'll be enough. We're going to end with the mozzarella too. Because there's so many delicious flavors here, layers, it's going to be thick. I'm going to try to get 3 layers in here. Okay, next layer is tomato. I may have made a bit too much of the tomato, but that's okay. I didn't want to run out. And it is the only real liquid in the whole lasagna. So you notice I'm putting it in and I'm making sure it's going to the sides so that the noodles can cook. You could use the noodles that you cook ahead of time. I just don't want to. I don't like to. All right, we're going to, once again, another layer. I think I'm going to get 4 across. Okay, and we go to the roasted veggies. I think I'm going to be able to use them all on this layer. The mushrooms and peppers alone are nice. The eggplant just gives it a nice meaty texture. Okay, that's yummy. So we're done with the roasted vegetables. I'm going to finish using the ricotta filling. So you see I had enough to do 2 layers with the ricotta filling. Try and spread it evenly. Starting to get a nice thick lasagna. And you can see why I've got the cooking sheet underneath it. All right, if you're following, next layer would be spinach. I may have a little bit too much spinach here. So the advantage of using fresh is that this can just go right back into your fridge, use for something else. And we'll finish off with some carrots. All right, at this point I have to assess what do I have left. So I've used all of the ricotta, I've used all of my roasted vegetables. I could leave it like this and just top it up with some mozzarella, but I still have some noodles. I'm going to put an extra layer of noodles. It'll all cook down, it'll just give me a thicker lasagna. So I'm gonna push these down a little bit because I do have a lot of tomato sauce in here. This is gonna be delicious. Okay, now you're going to be ending with mozzarella, but you don't want to put mozzarella on dry noodles. So here's where I'm glad I've got a little bit of extra tomato. I'm just going to top those noodles up with tomato so that they have something to cook on. I don't want to put dry noodles on the top. And now I'm going to top it off with mozzarella. You could even put a little bit of Parmesan on top, but there is Parmesan inside the ricotta. Okay, so the tendency is always to put a piece of foil on it, on top of this. Don't do that because you're just steaming it. You want it to roast. You want it to bake, I should say. Okay, I am going to finish with this mozzarella. I'm going to put it in the oven. It is going to take about 45 minutes to 50 minutes to cook. We're going to take you on the tour, and when we come back, hopefully it's cooked. We're at Indian River Acres Farm, the home of Kevin, Janet, Liam, and Lucas Cornish. It's a family farm. It's rich in generational history. Let's go see what Janet, Kevin, Liam, and Lucas have to show us. We're here at Indian River Acres, and this is the Cornish family, and Caleb
Kevin Holman.
I'm going to let you say that name. So we have Janet, Kevin, Lucas, Liam, and Caleb, and they are going to take us on this family farm. And I understand in 2022 you were Family of the Year, Farm Family of the Year.
Yeah, for Peterborough County, that was super exciting and a great opportunity for the boys to get to see there is a little payoff from working so hard.
And it says a lot of accolades for the family, how you work together as a unit. The boys have a flower business, and we're going to go over and see that. Let's go over to the scapes. So how much garlic do you grow?
About 15,000 bulbs.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And is it marketed at your farm stand? What do you predominantly do with it?
So we also we harvest the garlic in July. We dry it and we sell it at the farm stand. We have different varieties of garlic. So when we're there selling, it's so nice to be able to explain to people that there's actually a garlic for every recipe. There's a strong, which could be a spicy.
The music, all of the different types.
There's also mild, so it's great for salads and salad dressings.
And so do you have any pre-made items that you sell, like any pesto, things that people do with scapes, or do you just sell the scapes?
We sell the scapes, and we also like what's a very popular dish, scape dish with our family is pesto. So we make pesto and we freeze it so that we can have it in our fridge all year long.
Yeah. Okay, so you're talking about corn season. So you have crops, and I read wheat, oats, rye.
So with our crops, we do a lot of cover crops. So we do a rye radish mix. We'll do rye, crimson clover, and radish as well. We'll do oats and radish. And that's all just to help recoup the soil.
And I'm going to just stop you there and explain the term cover crops.
Yeah, so a cover crop is used to essentially cover bare soil to ensure it stays in place.
Right, to prevent erosion.
Yep, and it helps keep things growing green, to keep the microorganisms working in the soil to help keep it healthy and ready for us to use again.
And then what do you do with those crops? Do you sell those for feed, or do you use them?
Some we'll harvest, and some we just till into the ground.
So you start planting March, would you say?
We're as soon as we can get on the ground, and it's usually sometime in April, depending on the winter. And we start planting, and we plant as soon as we can get on until about the middle of July. Yeah, we offer, so we do these porch packages. So again, people can go online and they can book it, and then we just have a pickup time and they just take it all ready and set it right up as soon as they get home. They can come to the end of the driveway and pick up whatever they can choose their own.
This is Liam and Lucas. They have a side business on the farm, and they completely run a flower business. What made you start that?
Well, when we were kids, we both wanted iPads and technology, and we didn't have the money for it, so we decided that we wanted to start our own business, and we thought flowers would be a great side addition to the vegetables at our farm. So on this side of our flower garden, we have cosmos here.
And on this side, we have two types of bachelor's buttons.
And here we have a couple of dahlia plants.
And right here, we have a whole bunch of asters.
Yep. And down here, this is our most popular flower. This is our zinnias. And these ones usually bloom a little bit larger than normal zinnias that you could buy in a seed package on this side here. And yeah.
And right here we have some zinnias and some bachelor's buttons mixed in there. And then the rest of the row we have zinnias that are just popping up growing right now.
So this is Mark Dawson. She's one of the original owners of the farm, and I have been told that she comes in when on market day. She makes lunches. She does all those things that need to be done. Everybody needs Grandma on the farm. So what's your role with the boys?
Well, it varies from day to day, and as they've gotten older, it varies a lot more. And but basically, I come in the morning, I help with the eggs, and make sure that they're ready for the customers. And then I ask, what can I do now? And I do whatever they need me to do.
I need you in my life. So they were saying Grandma helps us a lot, but I'm a grandma. I know how much this is good for you too.
Yeah, I love it, and I think it's helped my health. It's helped what I do. It helps me keep in touch with them and the farm and what's going on in their lives as well. And that I really appreciate that.
I understand that completely.
Yes.
And I asked them how they pay you, and they said love and respect.
That's true, but occasionally there's ice cream involved, or a dinner. Some evenings when we have a day that's long and we have dinner. So I'm paid in many wonderful ways.
That was a great tour. The thing you probably noticed, like I noticed, is how the family gels, how they work together. And one of the key components that Janet told me is that everybody has a role and nobody oversteps that role. And I liked that. The lasagna came out of the oven. It took exactly 50 minutes. It was starting to spitter and spatter. I always lay a piece of parchment paper on top. You won't get crusty edges and you won't have that splattering in your oven, which seems to be a common theme, I know, but it keeps it clean. All right, so I let it sit. You should always let something sit for a while. We're going to plate it, The lasagna just separates nicer and cuts nicer if you've let it sit for a bit. It's still pretty hot. The first piece is always the hardest one to get out. It could have cooled a bit more to be cut. I noticed I didn't get the very last layer. So here we have a vegetable lasagna. If you remember, we did the layers of tomato sauce, the ricotta cheese, some roasted vegetables, spinach, carrots. It's very loaded with delicious thing, mozzarella cheese. To plate this, you could put a little Parmesan on the top, a little bit of parsley. It's delicious on its own. A vinaigrette salad, you've got yourself a meal. Thanks for joining today. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep cooking.